So this first one's called 33,531, and the first two lines of it are actually from a psalm. Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Advice as old as the Psalms that my grandfather took to heart for 33,531 days. Or, to be less precise about it, a little less than 92 years. He counted the days he was alive, working out maths with pen and paper and ticking them along, so that when we visited and asked him how many days, he'd know right off the top of his head. Days he measured out in bowls of oatmeal, squeezed grapefruits, and cups of tea made for my grandmother, who once told me that of all of her days, her wedding day was the worst day of her life. But that wasn't the fault of my grandfather, whose only crime was to love her enough to want to build a life together. It was a different time before last-minute flight deals and swiping right and video chat. See, my grandparents came of age during a war that my generation's forgetting already, when school children swapped books for shovels and winter days never seemed to end. It was the day the bombs stopped falling, according to my grandfather. Victory in Europe with tulips in force, everyone dancing in the streets. He wasn't a dancer. He said he was a shy type, and that's why he'd never had any luck with the ladies. But that day everyone danced. He was swept up in it, and that's where he saw her. Now, my grandmother tells me she had her eye on him for some time, and there are two sides to every story. They fell in love, but their opportunity to build a life together lay across an ocean. So the day they married, her father refused to come. He said to her, "If you go, we might as well put you in a grave." I've read that by the time we are in adulthood, we're already in the tail end. The tail end of the time we'll have to spend with many of the people who mean the most to us. Fewer days together are sometimes ahead of us than now stretch out spent behind us. I often ask my grandfather how many days, but I'm not sure I ever asked him why he counted them. Maybe it was a reminder of the tail end, a call to make each day count and to be grateful for each one that passed spent with the people we love. My grandmother did see her father again. She visited with her first son. And my grandfather counted 33,531 days, on the last of which she was there holding his hand. Wow. This is the second one that I'll read. This one's called The Tide. We walked the dry ocean floor like astronauts must have walked on the moon, my brother and I. We scrambled down the red earthen banks, memories of another place and another time, past the sign reading, "Beware the tides." Erosion-carved flower pots rose up around us, topped with improbable evergreens, out of our reach. Salt-slicked seaweed chose sand over sea, holding its breath, while sepia-colored skies dusted the advancing waves, pulled forward now by lunar forces. We could have been the only two left. Our songs would have echoed off cliff edges with no one to hear. We could have waited to see what happens next, hoping maybe for a life raft or letting the unrelenting water slowly swallow us. Instead, we savored the ever-changing light and walked like astronauts must have walked on the moon.